Welcome to Higher Calling Wildlife. This is Chester Moore. Growing up, my grandfather told me the story of seeing a picture of an 11-foot long eastern diamondback rattlesnake in Sports Afield magazine. It blew my mind. But before we talk about this rattlesnake and an incredible discovery, please subscribe. Subscribe to Chester Moore, wildlife journalist and investigator, and get all kinds of cool wildlife stuff, outdoors, true crime, and our weekly Higher Calling Wildlife program, which you're watching right now. Back to the massive rattlesnake. So I kind of wondered what my grandfather was talking about. Of course, he told me this before we had, the internet. So we couldn't just search things. And even later on when I searched it, I couldn't find anything about this. One day, a few years back, I was talking to my good friend Joe Doggett. Joe is an impeccable outdoor writer. Used to write for the Houston Chronicle, still writes for a lot of magazines, including Texas Fish and Game, and he loves snakes. And I said, Joe, my grandfather used to tell me about an 11-foot long eastern diamondback in Sports Afield. He goes, I have every copy of Sports Afield dating back like 50 years or something. He literally pulled a magazine off the shelf on the phone with me, opened it up and said, here it is, scanned it, and sent it to me. And this is the image you're going to see right now. Now, this had already been in an earlier, maybe years earlier edition of Sports Afield, and then they ran it again in the reader letter section. And it says this was an 11-foot, 4-inch long eastern diamondback that was found in like an abandoned house. And I believe the original story was it was found near Orlando, Florida in 1919. And the letter in this edition in 1974 was from the New York Zoological Society, who had an interest in this photo. They seemed to think it looked pretty authentic, and if it did, of course, it would be like 3 feet longer than the largest ever recorded eastern diamondback. Eastern diamondbacks get really big around. They're huge snakes. And of course, an 11-footer would be a world record by a very long shot. This is kind of a lost photo in snake lore, and I've wondered about it my whole life. And my good friend Joe Doggett shared this photo right here that appeared in a reader letter section of Sports Afield magazine in the 1970s with a letter from the New York Zoological Society responding to a photo that it ran in a previous issue. So maybe you have the original issue. If you do, could you scan it and send it to me at chester@chestermore.com? What do you think about this massive rattlesnake? Is it a legitimate photo? It's hard to tell. There's a bunch of guys here holding it. It's obviously huge. Maybe someone said it could be 2 snakes stuck together. I don't think so. I think this is a legitimately large snake. And here's the thing. Snakes keep growing. And before we killed everything all the time, reptiles could possibly get a lot larger than we're seeing now. Could this be a legitimate world record, lost world record eastern diamondback rattlesnake? It's a cool story. Have you ever encountered a giant rattlesnake, a huge, huge rattlesnake? I've seen a 7-footer. It was a western diamondback. Maybe I'll share that story later on. There are huge rattlesnakes out there. My friend Austin Stevens, Snake Master, did an incredible episode of his program all about eastern diamondbacks. If you haven't seen that episode that aired, you can find it on YouTube. It's an incredible, incredible video with a great man, maybe the greatest pursuer of snakes of all time, my friend Austin Stevens, Snake Master. And you can go subscribe to his Facebook. He puts a lot of great content out there. What do you think about this snake? Let me know here in the comments. I want to share this photo with you, kind of a lost gem out there in the search of giant snakes. Please subscribe, Chester Moore, wildlife journalist and investigator. God bless, and thank you for watching.